What's up, everyone? Welcome to inplayLIVE Podcast, Season 2, Episode 2. I'm here with my co-host, Thomas Ritzker, and we're ready to rock and roll here for the NFL season. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe to our podcast, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Music, to make sure that you do not miss out on any of the action this season. I personally believe the podcast is a great way to stay in tune with what's going on inside of our community, but also if you're a sports bettor or if you just love sports at all, we cover some great content on what's going on in the world of sports. What are we talking about today?
So today we've got week 1 under our belt, NCAA. Monster slate this past Saturday, also some games leading up to that. So we'll talk a little bit about what the week was. There's some big teams that did what they do, winning games, stomping teams. There were some big teams that lost, and the implications there. We're also going to talk about some of the coaching in NCAA because that's a bit of a hot button topic. Obviously with college you have a lot more variables, and with that comes some coaching differences as well. Maybe a little bit, some areas we don't agree with, let's say, on clock management, approach, style, mentality, that sort of stuff. So that's kind of the game plan here. I think that's a good segue right into it. Let's open up with it. Coaching in the NCAA. You talk about it a little bit during the NFL. The differences, obviously. You've got way different athletes, a slightly different game, your different talent pools and things like that. So I think the coaches do have a bit of a harder job when it comes to managing players who are younger, inexperienced, etc. But what is inexcusable is things like not knowing the circumstance, the down and distance, the time on the clock. Let's get into it.
Oh, man. If you're a member of inplayLIVE, you see me go downright ballistic with the stupidity of coaching the game. When you talk about football IQ, a lot of people think that you're referencing the player's ability to understand the game, because that's where you see such a great amount of variability, right? When you watch the CFL, it's normal to see players not know the rules of the game. What you never expect is the guys, especially in the NCAA, where the students aren't making money. What you don't expect is the guys that are making hundreds of thousands a year, and in a lot of cases, millions of dollars a year, have no clue what's going on when it comes to clock management and what the right mathematical play is based on time left in the game, the score in the game, when to go for two, when not to. We had a bet that we won. We had a bet that we won where we had a solid number this week. So we had an under 8.0 to give in a game. And the team was down 24 with 6 minutes left, and they didn't go for two. And we were like, thank God they're so stupid. They should have gone for two to make it a 2-score game. And the coach had no idea that he should have gone for two. And you know what's crazy? Do you remember what team that was?
No, I don't.
What's the smartest school in the Power 5 in college football?
Oh, it was Stanford, wasn't it?
It was Stanford! Yeah. You're like, are you kidding me, Stanford? You don't know to go for two down 24? You guys are supposed to be the smart ones, the Ivy League that's not in the Ivy League.
Maybe it was the crowd. That's why the crowd was booing, because they were all doing the math in the stands, breaking it down. But that was pretty wild. What else happened? We had, I think there was a really good example of one was the Hail Mary play you brought up. And it was on Thursday Night Football, but I don't remember what team it was.
Yeah. So basically, what happened was it was 4th down. Roughly at the 50, but they had crossed the 50. So 4th down at your opponent's 48. And the clock was running, okay? So there was 27 seconds left in the half, okay? So if you are the team without the football and you take a timeout, you force your opponent to punt. And the reason that you would do that is because then there's no chance that they can score in the half other than the absolute miracle of a dropped punt. But you can even then assign your special teams unit to play where you do not catch the punt. So you just let the punt roll, right, to ensure that your opponent cannot score any points. If you don't take a timeout when the clock is running, you leave the opportunity for your opponent to throw a Hail Mary. And if they throw a Hail Mary, you have the potential to be scored on. Whereas if you take the timeout, you stop the clock, they can't throw the Hail Mary, they have to punt the football, because if they don't do it, if they try a Hail Mary instead of punting, then they're gonna get the opportunity to move into field goal range or punt. And they let the clock run. I'm going absolutely ballistic watching it. And then sure enough, they tried a Hail Mary. They didn't score, but I so badly wanted them to score to punish the coaching staff on that particular play. And honestly, those two stories are just the tip of the iceberg. We see it every single Saturday, where you watch the management of the clock towards the end of the half specifically, and then again at the end of the game, where you have no-brainer situations that the coach couldn't figure out. And then the other one, was it the Boise game?
The Boise game, yeah. Boise at UCF, right?
Boise UCF, there was a minute 18 left on the clock, and it was 4th down for UCF, and Boise didn't take a timeout until there was 46 seconds left, because they didn't know that they needed more time to score at the end of the half. A minute 18 versus 46 seconds is huge in those final seconds of a half. And it was the Boise State coach, and he disappointed me all game with his decision making, his lack of confidence in his team. But the Boise State coach should be fired for not taking a timeout at the end of the half. And there's a perfect example. I know Boise State's not Power 5, but their coach and their coaching staff are all well into the hundreds of thousands of salary to coach their team, and potentially millions.
Yeah, and that one, I distinctly remember that one. UCF was well into their own half on that one. Mm-hmm. So if they would have forced a punt, not to mention, sidebar, college punters on average stink.
Yeah.
You're not getting a lot of yards as a college punter, so you might get that ball back at the 50.
Yeah, potentially.
Or you're 40, right? And you just got to go 20 yards to kick a field goal, hopefully. Knock on wood. But yeah, so it's like, I think it's bewildering at times what college coaches decide to do or not to do, based on just like, it's almost like they roll one of those dice, those mood dice, and it's like, what mood am I in? Do I feel conservative? Do I feel aggressive? And it's nothing to do with the circumstance. But I think that the cool thing about that, on the other side of it, sometimes it can bite us, but more often than not, it presents opportunities because it's unpredictable. Yeah. And that's something where we can say, hey, as bettors, like, how can we get ahead on these? Or how can we find something that we can profit on there, right?
And I think to that note, the NFL is unbelievably consistent with what coaches will do based on the basic common sense of what you're supposed to do when you play football. And I'm not talking about going for it on 4th down.
Right.
I'm talking about the opportunity to score, when you can throw a Hail Mary, when you can get into field goal range, the math associated with how much time's left in the half or the game. And the coaches that are not really, really excellent at that stuff, that have it figured out automatically so that they don't need to do a calculation, it's common sense. The coaches that haven't been able to do that in the NFL, they're all no longer in their current role, because I've seen it. I watched the San Diego Chargers do it year in, year out. He's gone. I watched the Cleveland Browns do it year in, year out. He's gone, right? So those people do not keep their jobs. Whereas in the NCAA, you just look at it and you go, like, come on, you're getting paid this amount of money and you can't figure this out. That's your job. That's not the kid's job to get done. Football is the best of what America has to offer. It is so fun, so entertaining, so fun to bet on. It's excellent. But these coaches, no one makes mention of this stuff too, because the announcers oftentimes don't know. They need to be held accountable for downright stupidity when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah. In their defense, I mean, sometimes, like we said, we're the only ones watching the game.
Yeah.
But okay. Well, let's blaze through the menu, the slate from the weekend, and just hit on a couple of notable games. Number 1, Duke Charlotte.
Oh my God. Did you just say notable games and then said Duke Charlotte?
Yeah, notable how Duke stinks.
Oh my God. We bet on Duke. We bet on Duke and lost. Oh, you look at a Power 5 school, any Power 5 school, and they're playing an out-of-conference team, and they get their ass kicked. That was Duke's coaches need to all be fired. They made so many mathematical clock errors. They are so bad. I don't really know what else to say. I'm excited. You know what I love about Week 1 NCAA? You see enough where it's beyond the players. That Duke game was way beyond the players. It was the coaching. Pure stupidity. It's not even about execution. Pure stupidity. I cannot wait to bet against Duke for the rest of the season.
Love it. UCLA and LSU. Chip Kelly versus Ed Tigers Orgeron.
I just look at that game and I go SEC over Pac-12 all day.
I think that there's a lot of the pundits have been talking about UCLA and their game being much improved. They have a good defense. They've got a really strong run game. They did flex pretty hard in the run game. LSU experienced a ton of turnover. Lots of seniors gone now for not only 1 but 2 years in a row. They've lost a ton of guys. But I think that UCLA might be a team to watch out for.
I get why you would say that. I think UCLA's play style and everything that they do is so exposable. They have talent. Obviously, Chip Kelly's been a successful coach in the NCAA. I hate his coaching style, and they need to be punished. I thought LSU had everything that it should take, from coaching to personnel, to absolutely decimate UCLA, and instead it was the other way around. LSU, they're obviously going to win some games, being who they are this season, but rule them out for everything right now. They stunk.
All right, speaking of stink, University of Washington Huskies, our local NCAA team, loses to FCS Montana.
Oh my God, so UW, they were minus 24?
Yep.
So 24-point pregame favorites. We actually say this in our masterclass every single week. There are multiple 20-point favorites that go down. UW being one of them this week. They scored a touchdown on the opening drive of the game. So UW, the Huskies, Pac-12, Power 5 team. That's borderline a paid game. Paid games being games where the Power 5 team wants a weak opponent in Week 1, where they actually pay the terrible football team to get money into their program. It helps them get their jerseys, their gear, their equipment, all that kind of stuff, because Pac-12 teams like UW have 80,000 fans that sell out every single week. And they were at home. The Huskies were at home. They scored a touchdown on the opening drive of the game and didn't score against Montana for the rest of the game. And UW, if you guys recall, the first year that NCAA dropped, where it was just the championship game and they started the playoff, right? The NCAA playoff, where the final the best 4 teams make it in. UW played Alabama in the 4-1 seed game, and it was like, this program is now propelling into the future. Really quality football team. They had an incredible season. They have fallen off a cliff. You can't lose that game. You just cannot lose that game. In fact, the minus 24 pregame spread, in theory, should be absolutely decimated. That should be a 50-60 point win for UW, where they score on every drive and win 50-60 nothing.
Yeah, big disappointment. Tulane, Oklahoma. Oklahoma coming into this year, the mean green wave.
The wave.
Oklahoma they're going to be a big dog this year. They're going to be firepower offense, but their defense is notoriously bad, and we capitalized on that.
Yeah, we won some serious coin in that game.
Yeah, so the green wave. The green wave is a perfect example of a team that was kind of hanging around all game, but obviously Oklahoma's got a future NFL quarterback, Spencer Rattler. There's been eyes on him since he was 14. Netflix doc, all this stuff, right? But Tulane kind of kept moving the ball, and that was a prime in-play-live use your bet with your eyeballs situation, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is there anything you want to add to the Wave?
They gave up 38 points. You know where they actually impressed me is their defense. Oklahoma is an incredible offensive football team year in, year out. Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, right? Two of those people being Heisman. Now Rattler coming in, one of the favorites for Heisman this season. Oklahoma squeezed out of it. So at the end of the day, this game will be forgotten in the grand scheme of, their ranking and all that kind of stuff. But they were minus 28-point favorites, and Tulane had a very real shot at upsetting them. Great game.
You got the onside kick back.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Great game.
It
was a great game.
All right.
And OU, I don't even want to say they're in trouble. I think the shocker in that was Tulane was good. That's really what the shocker was for me.
All right. Bama, Miami.
Wow. What a game.
Well, and Miami over the last few years has been a rising program. Their quarterback is actually probably in like top 10, top 15 for Heisman candidate, Derek King.
Yeah.
And Bama brought out their new weapon.
Yeah.
Young.
Well, I think, okay, so that game's a perfect example of where you go NCAA football, entirely new team, entirely new squad, playing a team in Miami where they have this really sought-after QB, Derek King, where people are going, is Alabama going to be good this year still, right? And and people are like, are you an idiot? Of course Alabama's going to be good. There have been years where Alabama has finished the season in the last decade where they ended the season unranked. That's how bad they ended up being. The year that Auburn won the national championship, I think that was 2014. It was Superman Cam, and they won the Natty against Oregon against Chip Kelly. That season, Alabama finished the season unranked, which is insane. And they started the season ranked 1. Okay? So that's important to understand that is the way that things can go with turnover in NCAA football. There are a lot of questions about Bama coming into this season because Najee Harris is gone. The Heisman winner, Devonta Smith, is gone. And Mac Jones, the Patriots starting quarterback, is gone. And they answered the question for us really quickly. They look like they're better than last year. So they were incredible. Young boss.
Yeah, he looked really good. He's got an arm. That guy can sling it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they steamrolled Miami. So
yeah, and they're based on that. Miami is not a joke. They will steamroll pretty much everyone this season, I think.
All right. The marquee matchup note of the week, I think, was Georgia-Clemson.
So what did I just say about the unknown of a top team? So here's the other team. Clemson and Alabama have been, it's like just pick them to go to the final. You're probably going to be right. At least one of them will be there, right? So Trevor Lawrence gone, Travis Etienne gone. Who are the big receivers? The Bengals guy from last year. Higgins. I'm missing someone, but anyways, they got their new offense. They looked so bad. They looked like they could end the season unranked.
Yeah, and I think the Bulldogs were really fierce on defense, but I'm not ready to chalk up the Bulldogs as a contender yet, just based on that one sample. I don't think they were good enough offensively. They should have won that game handily based on how their defense played. Yeah, and they did not. So.
But you also have to keep in mind Clemson's defense is strong. And when we're talking about turnover, Jake Fromm, who's been the staple of Georgia's offense, it's not like Jake Fromm was incredible, but he was consistent, and he knew how to manage the game and not turn the ball over, which when you have the personnel that Georgia has, that's all you need to be successful and to win. Jake Fromm's gone, right? So Georgia, in my opinion, is real because that Clemson D is real. What's unbelievable was Clemson's offense. It was disgusting.
All right, last game. FSU Notre Dame, the Sunday night football, a rare Sunday night college game. I only caught a bit of this game. What I did catch is that Notre Dame went out and got Jack Cohn from Wisconsin. That is not a compliment. That is a statement that I watched that guy. We watched that guy for 2 years at Wisconsin. He is so vanilla. I don't think he's necessarily bad. He might end up getting drafted
He
late.
sucks.
But he is not special. That is not an answer. That's a program that is in trouble for quarterbacks. Who goes and gets him? I just think that's all bad. And I don't know who ended up winning that game. Was it overtime?
It went to overtime.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame was up 18. But what's notable about the game and what's so significant and important about the game, UCF, okay, the Knights, they had an undefeated perfect season 3 years ago. Undefeated and perfect. Everyone wanted them to be in the Final Four, okay? They got snubbed, and I think they finished 5th or 6th going undefeated. And that's because the strength of their schedule. Everyone's like, strength of their schedule, you know, they play someone real, they'd get their ass kicked. So I don't know if it was the Cotton Bowl, the Peach Bowl, the Rose Bowl, but they got a BCS Bowl. It just wasn't the Final Four. And they shit-kicked Auburn, who only had one loss that season. Their quarterback, the start of the next season, UCF continuing to try to go undefeated, starting their next. So they had an undefeated season in college football.
Yeah.
And they played a real team at the end, and they shit-kicked Auburn. The very first quarter of the next season, their star quarterback took an Alex Smith-esque injury, and they said he would never play again. FSU's quarterback in the fourth quarter was that same kid. I should know his name, and I don't have it off the top of my head. So this kid came in for FSU in the fourth quarter and led them to come back to go to overtime. That had never lost. He had never lost in college football before from UCF. Crazy story.
Crazy.
So that and the thing is the takeaways from that game. Notre Dame, the kids had to practice on Monday after the game because the coach was so pissed. Notre Dame's defense was atrocious. FSU looked terrible, and then this kid came in. FSU is going to be fun to watch this year.
Cool.
Fun
Really
to
cool.
watch. I think he's like 29 too. he's like based on eligibility and his injury and all that kind of stuff. I literally think the kid's like 29.
10th year senior. This is a bit of a sore one, but I have to give an award for the poorest performance that maybe I've ever seen. And that goes to the New Mexico State Aggies, who were hot then not.
We took them to win the first half at 10-1, and we won. And that was the luckiest bet we've ever won.
It was all downhill from there. I think they got negative yards in the second half. I truly think that might be a possibility. Anyways.
Just to Mackenzie Milton.
Okay.
That's the quarterback for FSU. Came in the fourth quarter to lead an 18-point comeback.
That's awesome.
And yeah, New Mexico State, who cares?
So let's see if that guy gets to start next game for FSU.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's wrap up NCAA. Move on to NFL Week 1. Holy smokes. 2 days till the green man, Tom Brady, hits the field, and they're playing the Cowboys. That's a monster opener.
Yeah, I think any time, the Cowboys were the Hard Knocks team, so that always attracts more action on them. People believe in them because they follow them on Hard Knocks and they want them to win. And we've seen how Hard Knocks teams have done over the years. But the Cowboys having Dak back, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Ezekiel Elliott, I don't care how bad they suck. It is so good for the league to have the Cowboys hype. And you know firsthand, we are stuck with the NFL with way too many primetime NFC East games. And if you're going to tell me that half of those are the Cowboys, I'm much happier knowing that it's Dak Prescott and the boys as opposed to, Andy Dalton and the boys, right? So, right, that division for the last decade has been the worst division in football. Even when the Giants won the Super Bowl in 2011, even during that time, the Giants went 8-8 in the regular season to win the division. Like, I'm sorry, Eagles fans. I'm sorry, Giants fans. Football team fans, if that's what we're calling them. The Cowboys should run the division over. They should decimate them. And if they don't, you know what? Well, then that's probably the norm. But, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else that we're looking forward to Week 1 other than, just NFL being back? We're going to learn so much in Week 1. It's, New Year, a lot of off-season movement.
Yeah, well, we got Mac Jones. We are going to get Justin Fields, not this week, but we know we're going to get him. We might not get Trey Lance. But,
Trevor Lawrence.
Right, Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson. Everyone is saying shit about Zach Wilson that I'm like, okay, easy. But they're basically talking like he's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. It's the Jets.
Exactly.
We'll see.
But that is the point, right? There's all these new teams. It's going to be really exciting to see what they make of it. The Jags didn't look good in preseason, but I think that people's preseason opinions and bias should never roll into the regular season. And I'll tell you why. I remember watching the preseason. Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't complete a pass in preseason for New England, and they were plus 10 underdogs week 1 on Sunday Night Football to the Arizona Cardinals because Tom Brady was serving his 4-game Deflategate suspension. Jimmy Garoppolo came out, looked like a superstar, and won that game, which ultimately led to him getting the starting job in San Francisco. And then on the flip side to that, Sam Bradford went undefeated in the preseason. In fact, I think it was some crazy stat, like he scored a touchdown on every drive that he played in the preseason. And I don't need to tell you how the Sam Bradford story turned out in the regular season. So, Trevor Lawrence didn't look great. I'm not writing him off by any means. Peyton Manning went 3-13 his first year as a starting NFL quarterback. Cam Newton isn't probably the best example, but Cam Newton started out like 4-14-1, and then went on to be an MVP and go to the Super Bowl. Yeah. Obviously, since then he's fallen off a cliff. But I guess my point is that you don't need to overreact to young quarterbacks being bad. It's pretty easily to call the Josh Rosens when you see it. But, I think this year in particular will be a year that we'll look back on like the draft of, what was the one year? It was like Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees, like all in the same draft, where you look back and you go, wow, there's 3 starting quarterbacks that had these huge, long careers in the NFL that 2 of the 3 are Hall of Famers or will be Hall of Famers, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the free piece of advice for anyone who's not in IPL, Week 1 NFL, do not bet on favorites. Just don't do it. Just wait. Wait and see.
Yeah. So with that said, Survivor Pool.
Yeah, Survivor Pool. So we're in our second year. Last year, I think we handed out a nice big check for like $2,500 or something. This year, we're more than doubling that already.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're part of the group or if you're not, we'll post a link below. You can join our Survivor Pool. It's just a weekly, pick one team a week. Save your money line bet week 1 for that.
Yeah.
And join the Survivor Pool with a chance to win a big prize.
Yeah, all you have to do is pick one winner per week. And it sounds simple, so you're like, hey, I can do that. The catch is once you've used that team, you can't use them again. So you kind of want to map out your year because all of a sudden you might be needing the Jets or the Panthers to win a game to keep you alive in the pool. Tons and tons of fun. The pool is growing really, really fast, so we anticipate hitting 5 figures this year. And honestly, get a part of it now so you can say that you were a part of it, because in 5-10 years, this is going to be a 6-figure per year pool.
Yeah.
Where we're going to be handing out a bag of cash that's pretty significant. And it's a lot of fun. I'm just so excited that football's back. As I like to say, all the kids are going back to school right now. I used to view that as the worst time of the year. I hated back to school. Many of us did. I was a big baseball player, so you're playing sports all summer, and then you come back to school. Baseball's over. I hated it. And now as adults, it is literally Christmas in the fall, the best time of the year. Whether you're a professional sports bettor or whether you just love, fantasy football and all the things that come with it, which, by the way, fantasy football, if you don't know, is the biggest corporate expense in the world because it's the biggest time theft that exists. It costs corporate America trillions of dollars per year because the average office screen time per week is something like 10 hours per fantasy football player that they give back to that they take from their company in following fantasy football. But that shows you how entertaining and fun the NFL is. And with inplayLIVE, obviously, it's entertaining and fun, but also we take it to the next level where it's income generating as well. So it's a whole nother layer of excitement and joy and fun and intensity and all that kind of stuff. So Yeah, guys, good luck join the Survivor pool. Good luck in your fantasy pools. At inplayLIVE, one of the things that we do that's included in your membership is we have a daily fantasy season-long league that's included with your membership, where you're competing for a really nice cash prize. Last year we did $1,000. This year we don't know if we're going to do cash or something a little bit different, but I guess my whole point is just there's so much fun right now and so much to look forward to. And the biggest thing, don't get overexcited. Manage your money. Don't do anything you're uncomfortable with. Don't bet with the rent or the mortgage. Make sure it's money that you can definitely afford to lose, that isn't going to negatively impact you or your family if you lose it. And always just have fun.
Sounds great, man. For anyone who's watching who hasn't joined inplayLIVE yet, use the promo code Ritzker Podcast, RITZKER Podcast, and you can get a discount on your membership. So I think we've got the pro membership is going to have, I think you get 6 streams a week almost.
Yeah, it's basically there's a stream every day if you're a member of
yeah,
pro.
And impromptu streams lately. So I mean, it's a no-brainer, the value you get. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll catch you next week, team. Let's go.